When I think of science fiction, I think of intense world building, complicated scientific plot lines, and long books, which has always been intimidating to me. But one of my goals for this year is to branch out and read different genres. One science fiction novel that got a lot of attention last year was Red Rising by Pierce Brown. This was the only science fiction I read last year, and let's just say, against popular opinion, it wasn't up my alley. That being said, I don't want to give up on the entire genre just because I didn't like one book. So this week, I'm going to try to immerse myself into science fiction and see what I am really missing out on. Are we excited or what? I think science fiction is a genre for me that I'm really missing out on. However, science fiction is really scary. I think there's certain science fiction worlds that will just be easier for me to read. I don't like having to think too much when I'm reading. Like, I want my reading experience to be easy and enjoyable. I'm gonna bring you guys along with me, and I'm gonna give you all my thoughts and my opinions and my words, and we're just gonna hang out and have a good time. So come along and I'll see you guys. I'll check in with you guys when I start reading. After some thinking, I've decided the first book that I'm gonna read for this video is gonna be The Mountain and the Sea by Ray Naylor. This book I'm really excited about. I have really high hopes for it. I have heard nothing about this book. I've totally just like ramped it up in my mind all by myself. I have not heard a single review. I have no idea if this is meant to be a really good book or a really bad book. I've never heard of Ray Naylor before. So I'm going in totally blind, first of all, but the plot sounds really interesting. So it is about this group of scientists, and they discover this new species of octopi. And this new species is very intelligent. They have their own way of communicating. They have their own society. They are very civilized. They are being studied. And apparently these octopi don't like being studied. So they start, I don't know, fighting back or something of that sort. Love the concept. There's also these like cool symbols on the spine, and just like quickly looking through the book, let me see if I can find a page of it. Like those symbols are through the book as well. So they have a lot of relevance to what's going on. I think it's like, that's how the octopi communicate. I think it's through this like symbolic language. But it's just like a very pretty book. I love this book physically. So now let's find out if I love what's inside, because it's really what's inside that matters, isn't it? On page 47 of The Mountain and the Sea, so I've just made like a little bit of headway, not very much at all, and it's a lot. And I know that science fiction, like, it always is a lot getting into a book, but there's just like, there's so many little things going on and little things that I need to learn, and people's names, and there's androids and different kind of mechanical things, and I'm just trying to wrap my head around it all right now. I'm not trying to focus on it too much, because I think with how much is going on right now, if I try to like slow it down and take everything in, I'm going to be overwhelmed. So I'm reading at my normal pace, and I'm trying to remember what I can, but if I don't fully understand it, I'm just kind of going past and assuming if it's important, it will be touched on again in the future. So that's where I'm at right now. So far, no octopuses. So I'm ready for more of these guys in the book and less robots. I'm not like loving it at this point, but I'm also not very far in. So I'm holding back judgment at this time. So it's a new day now. I did continue to read The Mountain and the Sea a little bit last night. So I'm on page 87 now. So I haven't made like a ton of headway in this, but enough. I am liking in this book that there's a lot of like blank pages, I guess, and quotes and things. So you feel like you're reading the book a lot quicker than like you actually are, because you are turning pages fairly quickly, which is just a nice feeling, especially when there's a lot of like world building, scientific talk going on. I feel like if the pages are really dense in those moments, you can feel like it's really dragging out. It has a lot of potential to be a really good book. So I'm just gonna read a little bit more and see how everything goes with that. So that's just my little check-in. Not very far into the book, but I'll let you guys know a little later how I'm feeling. halfway through the mountain and the sea now, and they're just finally getting to a point where they're talking more about the octopus. It's been like a long time coming. I thought that this was like the whole premise of the book was, and it is, but for the first bit it just kind of felt like a bit of a subplot, trying to figure out how the octopuses are communicating and like that whole side of things. So now we're finally getting into that, and they're kind of starting to analyze their language and figuring out what these symbols that the octopi are leaving mean. Still not loving it. It's definitely getting more interesting now that we're getting into the stuff that I thought the book was going to be about and the stuff that I knew that I was going to enjoy more in the book, but there's like side plot lines that I just like, I don't really know quite how they're all connecting yet. Yeah, I can't say I really like any of the characters either. They're all pretty flat right now. Oh, I don't know. So that's where I'm at right now with the book anyway, and not feeling like a high rating on this one so far, but I'll keep reading. I don't know how to say this, guys. I come with an update, and a not so good update, but I've decided I'm going to DNF this book. I made it a little over halfway through it. I wasn't enjoying it, and life is too short to be reading books that you're not enjoying, and I feel like I gave it its fair chance to give me what I needed out of it, and it wasn't. I just found it kept going off in these tangents because like it's a sci-fi world, right? I guess like it's our world, but with sci-fi elements. It would just constantly go on these little tangents about little robotic or technological things that like really didn't seem to have much to do with the story at all. It was just like taking up page time. And I just wanted to know what was going on in the main plot, but we just kept stepping away from that. And I assume that all these little side things eventually are going to come together, but I think even if they do now, like this book won't get over a 2-star for me. Even if the last half of it is really good, because I just have not enjoyed the first half of it at all. But I told myself this year, this is the year that I DNF more books that I'm not enjoying. I have so many books on my TBR to read that if I'm not enjoying it, there's no reason for me to continue. Well, I don't love it, so why am I wasting my time reading it? On to the next one. You hear some aggressive purring behind me. It's just, my cat's just loving life, really. The next book I'm picking up for this video is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. This one I've heard really good things about recently. I know Ashlyn Kaylee and her husband Ian, they both read this and really liked it. I think Ashlyn gave it 5 stars. I'm not sure about Ian. It's kind of like a sci-fi thriller mix. I know there's time travel involved in this one, so I think this one has good potential to be rated pretty highly from me. I don't think this is going to be a DNF. I would be very surprised if it is. If we get 2 DNFs in a row, I'm just giving up this challenge. I have high hopes for this, especially after the last one. February was not a good reading month for me, and so far I've had a DNF already. It's only March the 3rd, so I am hoping like March just needs to turn around. I need to get some good books under my belt, or else I'm going to be in such a slump, and I just can't do that. I cannot be in a big slump. Please let this be a good book. I trust the people that have recommended this to me, so let's see. We'll see what happens. You know, when you start a new book and you know right away that it's going to be a book that you enjoy to some capacity, like a 3-star or above, that's how I feel when I started reading this one. I just like his writing. So I just know that even if I don't love the story or I'm not super captivated, I'm still going to probably enjoy this book. And that is such a relief coming off of that last book, which was a DNF. So this is what I needed. So please, Blake Crouch, save me. Please pull through. Don't make me eat my words in saying that. Please. I just finished a chapter in this book. I'm still not super far. I'm only on page 108. And you know, when you're reading a book and you read a certain like scene and you realize in that moment that, wow, this author can do anything. Like the stakes are raised and now you're just like fearing for everybody's life, fearing for the main character's life because you don't know what's going to happen. Blake Crouch went there and there was just a scene. It just played out not the way I thought it would play out. And now I'm just worried
about everybody in this book and what the outcome is going to be for this. Really loving it so far. Feeling a 4 above right now. I'm feeling pretty good about this book. Yeah, and I know I didn't really get into the premise too much earlier because I didn't really know a ton about what this book was about. But basically, to give you the gist of it, it is about this physicist. And you know, he has his little life, right, with his wife and his son, and he's happy in the life that he has. It's nothing special, nothing spectacular, but he's happy with that. One night he goes out and meets up with an old friend of his, and he ends up getting kidnapped that night. Abducted, I guess, maybe is a better word. And all these weird things start happening. You know, this person is injecting him with things. He's taking him to these weird places, asking him to do strange things. And he thinks, you know, this is like the end of him. Like, he's like, this is terrible. But he has no idea what is about to happen to him. Like, even his wildest imagination cannot comprehend what is about to happen. And so then he passes out and he wakes up and he's at like a research facility. Lo and behold, his life has basically been turned upside down at this point. It's as though he made different life choices earlier in his life that have come to be what his life is at this point. So now in this new life that he's living, he's like this top physicist, this top researcher that's won all these prizes. He doesn't have a son. He's not married to his wife anymore. And obviously this is super overwhelming to him, right? Like he, the day before, had a whole separate life, and now he doesn't have that same life. And he still has what sounds to be like a very interesting life, but it's not the life that he had before. So he's obviously freaking out, right? This is wacky. So he's trying to figure out what's going on. Who can he talk to? There's obviously people out there that kind of want to harm him. It's very, very fast paced, and it's almost like it's an action film or a thriller, I guess, where like I'm reading these words on the page, but I can see them happening in front of me as I'm reading them, because it's just, the way he writes is very vivid, very fast paced, and it's written like a thriller would be, like a movie, literally like a movie. So really enjoying this so far. This is exactly the kind of book that I needed after coming off of The Mountain and the Sea. This is one I might just finish it today because I just want to know what happens, and it's keeping my interest so much. I have a bit of a break right now at work, so I'm just like parked in a random parking lot. Not very scenic, not going to show you. I definitely could have chosen a better spot to park and hang out for a bit, because I live by a lot of lakes, but nope, I'm just in a random Starbucks parking lot. It's a beautiful day out today, but like very windy, which makes it chilly. Anyway, I've got probably about 40 minutes to kill right now, so good thing that I brought my book. So I'm just going to kind of hang out and read this for a little bit. So I'm kind of excited I have a bit of a gap because I want to keep reading this so badly. So cheers, friends. Let's read. It's another day and I'm back in my car once again. I don't live in my car. I do live in an apartment, but I spend a lot of time in my car. I travel for work, so I'm in my car a lot. So last night I finished Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. I loved that book. I thought that was so phenomenal. That's the science fiction I want when I'm reading science fiction. Literally like watching an action movie on paper. It was so good. I liked the characters. I liked the plot. The science fiction was like fairly easy to understand, because I often do get confused when things are touching on like more like parallel universes and things like that. But I felt like I understood it well enough to really enjoy the plot of it. And it was a very unique storyline. Things I totally didn't expect anything that happened in the end to happen. After I sat on it for a little bit, I did end up rating it a 4.75, which is very close to a 5-star. It just didn't quite give me the 5-star feelings that I was like hoping for. But this is a book, like I truly would recommend this to anybody. I think just about anybody would like this book. I'm so happy that I read this. I know there's at least a couple other books by Blake Crouch that I'm really interested in reading, so I might peruse at some thrift stores and keep my eyes open to see if I can find any. If not, I know that Book of the Month does have them that you can order as like add-ons. So I finished that, and then I was thinking about what I wanted to read for the final book of this sci-fi reading week, and out of all the books, there's one that is on my TBR for March that fits, and that's Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. So I thought, you know, I'll get two birds with one stone. It's a sci-fi and it's on my monthly TBR, so I did pick this book up, and I haven't read very much of it. I think I'm on page 60 or so, so like not super far, but the writing style is giving me similar vibes to Dark Matter. So it's enjoyable. It's easy to read, which is big for me with sci-fi. I need to be able to understand what's going on. The inner dialogue of this main character is kind of funny. Like there's been a couple times where I've like laughed out loud, and I haven't expected that from this book. So that's an enjoyable little surprise for me. What's happened so far is that our main character wakes up and he has no memories initially. He doesn't know his name. He doesn't know where he is. But he's woken up and he's in this room, and there are people there who are deceased at this point in time, and he can tell that he's been in some kind of like a preserved state of life. He's assuming it was like an induced coma because he was attached to all these tubes and things, and obviously the two people that he was with didn't make out so well, but there's a robot there that's kind of helping him meet his daily needs, giving him food and things like that, but not really telling him anything else more than that. And he has no other memories about what is going on or why he is where he is or who he is, and you're kind of slowly seeing memories come back. And like very early on, this isn't a spoiler, this is like in the description, you realize that he is on a mission in space somewhere. He's on this mission to save Earth because Earth is in crisis, the sun is dying, and he's been sent on this mission to save the Earth. But then he wakes up and he doesn't remember anything. So you're kind of on this journey of him discovering where he is, who he is, what's his purpose, and then hopefully saving Earth. We'll see if that happens, hopefully. Yes, so I'm going to read that for a little bit, and then once I'm a little further in, I'll let you guys know how I'm feeling after that. So I'm not really sure what happened, but it has been a couple days, and it's time to wrap up this video now. So I did finish Project Hail Mary, but I'll tell you about that at the end. We're going to do a little recap or a little summary of the sci-fi week. So I started out reading, as you guys saw, The Mountain and the Sea, and I did not finish this, and I will not be finishing this. I stand by that. I don't think this is ever a book I'm going to be reaching for again in the future. It was just, I didn't really see where the plot was going. The book wasn't giving me anything that I wanted it to be giving, and it was too heavy on just explaining elements of the world that didn't really need to be explained. Big DNF on this one. I will be keeping it on my shelf though because it's a very beautiful book. It's always so sad when what's on the outside, it doesn't match what's on the inside. If you love this book or if you have any other recommendations from this author that maybe I should try in the future, let me know. I'm still open, but this just didn't hit the mark for me. My next read was Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, and holy moly, did I ever love this book. I think I said earlier that I rated this a 4.75, but I'm still between that or a 5-star. I'm still thinking about this book, and it's been days now down the road and how much I just enjoyed reading this book. It might be a 5-star. Time will tell. I'm gonna think about it a little bit longer. I did give it 5 stars on Goodreads, but I gave it a 4.75 on Storygraph. So I don't know, somewhere between there. Either way, it was a fantastic book. It was so fast-paced, so action-packed, very unpredictable, interesting concepts that I've never really read about in a book either. You get parallel universes, you get even just a nice like romance story at the same time. This definitely isn't a romance book, but it is a book about two individuals' love at the same time, which is really, really fun to read about in a science fiction novel. Love this one. Highly, highly, highly recommend this book. And to finish off the week, I did finish Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This book I really ended up liking. I think my favorite of the week was Dark Matter, truly, but this one was a close second. I landed on a 4-star for this book. My only real gripe with this book is the length of it. I did feel like it dragged a little bit, but that being said, it didn't really lose my interest at any point in time. It kept a kind of good, consistent pacing through the entire length of the book. I just made me think that they didn't have to run into quite as many issues as they did, and I understand the journey that they were going on to. Like realistically, if that were to actually happen, they would run into a ton of issues. But I think for the point of a book like this, it felt a little bit longer than it needed to. This one was a little bit more heavy on the science fiction elements as well. There was a lot of explaining about what was happening, why it was happening, the science behind it, which I found that for the most part, it was fairly easy to understand. And the parts that I just was getting a little bit like, oh, I don't really want to pay attention too much to this, you didn't really have to. You got the gist of what was going on without really having to understand all of the science that went behind it. So those are the 3 science fiction books that I read this week. All in all, I had a fairly good time. I unfortunately did have the one flop, but the other 2 books that I read were some of my favorite books that I've read so far this year. So I definitely will be reading more science fiction in the future. One of the things through this whole week of reading that I really was astounded was I'm amazed by science fiction authors' ability to actually put that much science into a novel, because obviously they're making up these worlds. There's a lot of fake science, but it has a lot of basis on real science. So I think that if you're an author in this genre, you have to really understand how science works in order to write a novel like this. Whereas I feel like more fantasy, like you can just totally make things up. Like it doesn't have to be based in any kind of reality. The basis of the science in this is, I think, is true. And then it takes a fictional spin on everything. If there's any science fiction books that I didn't get to in this video that you would recommend me read, please leave that down below because I will be looking for more recommendations. I don't really have that many others on my TBR cart. So if there's anything else you recommend, let me know. If you've read any of these and you've enjoyed them, also let me know because I'd love to chat about those. I think for sure I'm reaching for more Blake Crouch in the future. I have my eye on a couple of his other books. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I will catch you guys in the next one. Love you all. Have a great day.